So, I would like to end the course with some more experience shared to me by some of my friends, and also I would like to um, demonstrate, read out from one of my very favorite book, that is part of the endeavor of the collaborative artworks created by the artists from the folk and minor art genre and the academic mainstream artists together. Also, how they're connecting their stories, their narrations with the academically trained writers, publishers, and how the paradigm is shifting and moving towards a positive direction. So, it's very important to realize that this was a course that is into a very different dynamism that has to be realized by all of us, that this is a tradition which is we are talking about, that is still living. It's a surviving tradition. Unlike ancient Indian art or ancient European art, we are not making studies on ancient Greek art, but the topic is much more thriving, and that is perhaps a reason that it took me a hard time to categorize the chapters, and I am still wondering whether we could cover everything, because it was not possible for anybody to cover the entire range, which is very vast, and I think I spoke about that in the beginning of the course, that it's too vast to capture and too living to be interpreted from a distance. It's so intrinsically connected to our lives and our being, and they're all around us. So, how to take a sublime view of this kind of a tradition which is happening? It's almost like the way you need a mirror to look at your own eyes. The same way, this is our life, this is our custom, tradition, this is the fiber of our being, and it's very difficult to give it an academic perspective in that sense, and that is perhaps we hesitate to call them as call it include it into the mainstream academics, or perhaps there are other reasons, but that is something what I felt that it's challenging to some extent. But this is almost that we are coming to a very different discourse, and we are forming dialogues from our side, and that was the effort, and I do not know how far that was successful. So, in this context, I would like to share via the artist Amrita Sen, who worked closely in building up the script of a book which was also published by Tara Books, and she worked in close collaboration with Swarna Chitrakar. Rather, she was there as an interpreter to connect Geeta Wolf, the Tara book publisher, the writer, with Swarna Chitrakar, as the language was known to the two of them, and moreover, it's not the literary language, rather it's a dialect that has to be understood in a very different term, and the artist and the creative writer, they can only understand each one's language, because it's not like a formal thing that can be interpreted through a Google interpreter or any dictionary or anything which is more mechanical. So, I framed quite a few questions to Amrita Sen to understand her experience with Swarna Chitrakar, because we need to see, like, Swarna Chitrakar being a very intelligent folk painter, very sharp and creative and an amazing painter. We need to know that how the contemporary artists like Amrita Sen could connect to her, as she was working as a bridge between the publisher, the writer, and the artist. How could she actually understood her? So I framed a few questions, and I'm just going to discuss them here. that upon asking how much familiarity did you share with the village painter as a practicing artist, Amrita replied, the Swarna is what is popularly known as a Patua, a specific artist clan of Bengal who paints and sings mythological stories to local people. I was more interested to find out that this particular clan is Muslim by their religious belief, though they traditionally paint Hindu mythologies. So there are many parts which are not known to us, and we are still curious to know many thematic data along with their creative endeavors. Upon asking what was your experience with Swarna Chitrakar as a whole, Amrita says that interviewing Swarna intensely for a stretch of 7 consecutive days was a rather rewarding experience for me. To take the fact that I am a painter myself, to look into some other artist's life so minutely, to find out smallest details of her life as well as artistic sensibilities were almost exhausting. But it was fantastic to discover that though we belong to two different social sections or have been trained into two very different kinds of art language or understanding, there are so many things in common when artistic attitude is concerned. Does this difference matter to Swarna also? Amrita replies, the first and most important thing that is noticeable in Swarna that she is a superbly spirited woman. In one word, she is smart. The smartness is visible in her appearance as a person as well as an artist. After I heard her life and we squeezed out small details which was all there inside her, but she did not mention on her own, I had an impression that she fought difficult days and accepted the success with same kinds of courage. Getting so much of exposure was not an easy thing to handle for everyone, but she did it with conviction. It shows how much her horizons have broadened, and she admits even the uncomfortable experiences brightly with a pinch of humor. She has a fantastic sense of humor. That was the glow of success I felt, as though she had a very hard early life. It is true that she has never seen a setback in her life or career till now. She brightly told us the story about how she upgraded her looks, taken off her ghomta, and even wore a salwar kameez one day at Chennai for the first time. With that, I found her quite conscious, like any other contemporary artists, about her appearance to people and even a sense of rivalry about her colleagues. And what about her poise as an original creator with an obligation to keep the legacy intact? How much she is conscious about the history and legacy that she is a part of. Amrita says, watching her making the drawings was another experience. She seemed equally bright in picking up instructions and following them. Patuas generally have their very own kind of compositional sense, but though I found her extremely proud about their tradition, here, for the sake of the book, she twisted and turned her drawings without thinking twice. The openness is something very rare. I think in every genre of artists, but she came up with very unconventional and even brave compositions as a result. I saw her with a kind of a way that how quickly she follows and draws the verbal instructions, and she did them so perfectly. Her capacity to picking up things so fast must have taken her this far in her career. Did you observe any difference in her work process that put her to a parallel platform that than her other colleagues? For me, it was also interesting because she starts her drawings from completely different angles than us, and yet she makes them perfectly proportionate. Swarna ended up giving me a very strong feeling of universality of art language and spirits, though it is a bit too cliched, but that was only true. Let me also share another very successful project, to my opinion, amongst many from Tara Books, that is Drawing from the City by Teju Ben. This is one book that is created based on the oral stories of Teju Ben, original Tamil text, Sallai Selvam, English text, V. Geeta and Geeta Wolf, published in Tara Books. The drawings are made on paper, the gateway sheets, and then transferred into the process of serigraphy or silkscreen and then mass produced. So, I'll go by the text. They call me Teju. Here I am. As a little girl in our village, I feel at home indoors as well as outdoors. And my favorite place is near the stream that runs behind our hut. Our village is green at times, but often when the summer is hot, it is baked brown. The fields are empty and the stream dries into a cracked bed. Our house is tiny. All of us have to work for all of us to eat. It's not just us, everyone around us lives like we do. Work takes us to the forest nearby. I never go along. Pa and Ma, our neighbors, and their babies, we all go together. It is scary to be by yourself amongst the trees. You hear things that rustle, whisper, breathe. I hold my father's hand tight. He taps a stick on the ground or on a tree trunk. He tells me that it is his way of telling the forest it has visitors. Work is fetching water, gathering firewood and fruit we can eat. Ma gathers other things too, seeds, berries, leaves. Ma says you have to listen carefully in the forest. Chirping squirrels warn you of snakes. The wind brings the smell of rain or a dead animal. We come home to more work, cooking, washing, cleaning. Sometimes Pa and Ma go off again to work on rich people's fields. Pa also sings for a living. He lives early in the morning, going from house to house, singing songs about God, love, pain, and happiness. In return, people give him money or grain. Ma does not go with him. She loves to sing, but in our village, women don't sing in public. Ma chants though. Her chanting is musical and soothing as she prays to the village goddess. Our goddess is armed and rides a tiger, and Ma says she is both kind and fierce. All the women in the village pray to her. They ask for different things, for rain, for their sick children to get well, for a good harvest. I pray sometimes with Ma. Ma tells me that it is the goddess who takes care of the poor. But I don't know about that because we continue to stay poor. The book ends with many more stories to continue with. It just begins here. And at the end of the book, there's a thematic data always to, I think it's needed today, and we will be happy if we do not need that thematic data anymore. Right now, the spreading of awareness is so important that it's written at the end of the book by the publisher that we dedicate this book to the memory of Ganesh Bhai Jogi, beloved husband of the artist Tejuben. News of his passing came in just when the book was being completed. So there's a human touch. The publisher bothers to mention that. And I'm reading partially from here that in Drawing from the City, Teju draws the story of her journey as an artist, which was so closely intertwined with that of Ganesh, her husband. So it is at once a celebration and a tribute to his memory, to the art that this gentle and loving couple practiced together. We hope that the book will stay with Teju as a reminder of what she may yet do. Teju Behan told us the story of her life orally. To capture the spirit of her narration, we asked a Tamil writer, Salai Selvam, to work on the text. Familiar with the joys and sorrows of village childhood and urban migration, Selvam could relate to Teju's story easily. We then retranslated Selvan's version into an English text. This much of narration is actually supporting the promotional causes that this kind of endeavors can be carried out by many more. And it was very challenging for this kind of books to find the right market. So it just boils down to the same notions that we began with. And I wish you a great journey in learning the living tradition that is thriving and they're waiting for everyone's support. We should look around, find out things because they're not all preserved in the museums as yet, but they're great specimens of the Indian culture. And we should also make studies into the folk art traditions of our other countries by reading the complete different orientation that many places have and the things that we have in common. Thank you very much for attending the course.